So this weekend, the newest Karate Kid movie in over 15 years hits theaters. Should you go check it out? Let's talk about it. Welcome back, Colonel. So, it is, like I said, it's been 15 years since the last Karate Kid movie. Now, obviously, we've had Cobra Kai since then, so we've definitely gotten to see a lot of these characters since that, point. But I think it's kind of nuts that we haven't had a Karate Kid movie, much less a new Karate Kid movie, obviously since like the 80s, like 80s, 90s, if you're counting the original characters, right? I have a lot to say about this movie. Obviously, there will be no spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, you do not have to worry about that, at least in this video. And then I'll also be trying to put out a ranking for all of the Karate Kid movies. I will not be including Cobra Kai, as that's just like, a show, kind of like a spin-off series. But like I said, I will be including all of the Karate Kid movies. With that said, if you want to check out more stuff like this, I've reacted to a bunch of Cobra Kai stuff, so you can check that out in the description. Let's talk about Karate Kid Legends. So just starting overall, I very much enjoyed myself with this movie. I kind of went in with this mindset of they could definitely mess this up. There are plenty of opportunities for them to mess it up, and I think just overall the general consensus is either going to be that you really enjoyed it or you really didn't. I've seen kind of mixed reviews all over the internet. I was somebody that, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a lot of heart. It had a lot of just really fast, like, you felt like these characters connected immediately. And they didn't just focus on the fighting and, like, they actually, like, built connections, had meaningful relationships. Like, I don't know, it worked for me, right? The fight choreographer in this movie definitely was just on par or needs a raise or something, because not only do they, do the usual, obviously cool karate moves and stuff, but they're also using the environment pretty well here. There were a couple times where I was quite surprised by just how deep they must have went into the training for this movie. I mean, it really did stand out in terms of some of the cool fights, just between like the training or like him, maybe defending somebody, or even during like the actual competition itself, the 5 boroughs. It was really, really good stuff. And also, I should say, if you're nervous that, maybe watching the trailer, you won't have enough new stuff, do not be concerned, because there is plenty more cool choreographed fights than what was in the trailers. I'd say one of the best things about this movie is just how funny it is. And it's not funny in the way that it's like it's overdoing it, but it's like they use comedy as sort of like a way to connect you to, all these people, and they use comedy to connect all of the characters in this movie, which, again, comedy is a great way to connect all of these people, because, it's a very good and shared emotion that a lot of people can have. They make Mr. Han's character like somewhat of the comedic relief, but also he has some serious moments because he and Lee have like a past. There were a lot of times when any of the jokes that came from him just had my whole theater laughing. It was a really funny time with him. I do want to take the minute to talk about Mr. Han, because I will talk about, the two big people in this movie, Mr. Han and Ralph Macchio. I really like them both. I know a lot of people had concerns, oh, are they going to be in the movie too much or too little, right? I think that they are in the movie for just enough time, because obviously this movie is not about them. This movie is about Lee, right, and his journey. I think that they serve their purpose in this movie. It's just enough that, they are his mentors, and they have their connections with him, and they set him up, but like it's not too much. So like, yes, like I was just saying, Ralph Macchio, he's great in this movie. He kind of comes in towards the end of the second act-ish, I would say, but he's fun. He has a great presence on screen, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's just gonna be like a quick 5-minute. No, he is in like he's kind of like what I would call the, how like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were in like the last act of Spider-Man and not just like the final fight. It's kind of like that, because he is in like the final act of the movie, and I just think they did a good enough job with it. I think it wasn't. I didn't want him to be in the movie that long. Does that make sense? As far as the main villain of this movie, when we were first introduced to him and in the trailer and everything, I was like, okay, like he just kind of looks like your average generic villain. And in some ways, I guess you could say he is, but towards like as the movie progressed, I really enjoyed just, first of all, the kid's acting. Whoever was playing this, the villain, I really just enjoyed his facial reactions to everything. He just had a good reaction to everything that was going on to him. I also just liked the kind of quarrels that were going on between him and Lee. I liked just their little glance they would give each other. But this is also a smart villain. Like, he will only start a fight if he has to. I don't know. I just like the way they did the villain in this movie. I was a fan. One of the things, one of my favorite things about this movie is the background that they give our main character Lee, in the reason as why he's continuing to fight. Obviously, he leaves his hometown in Beijing, China, to come to the Big Apple. There's a whole thing as to why like they're trying to get away, and I won't spoil that or anything, but his brother is like a driving force in this movie, and it also connects him with Mr. Han and just karate in general, karate and kung fu. And again, quite honestly, I really enjoyed just that backstory because I feel like they played into it enough where it mattered, but they didn't use it as an excuse to like do everything in this movie, which I like when it's like the backbone of the character, but I also like when they flesh out a character enough to like not everything is about that one thing. Does that make sense? We also need to address whoever was in charge of the post-production team on this movie did a phenomenal job. There were all these little fun like transitions in the movie, which in itself are fine, right? But what really got me are these little like pop-up like before, like, you know, they have like just these little pop-ups around the screen, or these little like artistic moments, and they are really cool. They do make a couple of references to like fighting games and just like the style of like karate and kung fu. It's really neat. Again, the post-production team just must have been, you know, really on fire when this movie, I was a really big fan of like all the little like cutouts and things that they would put, you know, it made the movie not too cluttered, but just fun at times to kind of keep you having this like fun, adventurous, but like competitive fun nature in the movie. You know what I mean? Overall, this was a great movie. I think I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5, which I'll be honest with you, I was not expecting to give it. I was probably thinking about a 3.5 or a 4. But I was just surprised with how much fun I had. Probably the most fun I've had with a Karate Kid movie in a long time. Mostly because there aren't many Karate Kid movies. But again, I felt like I definitely want a sequel to this movie. I would gladly take a sequel to this movie. But I know there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, well, this isn't Ralph Macchio. They're milking the cow. Honestly, I feel like every studio is milking the cow at this point. And I think that's just people that obviously, you know, they love the originals, but sometimes you're just going to get those legacy sequels like this. And I enjoyed myself. I really had a good time with this one. So if you plan on seeing it this weekend, drop a comment down below. Let me know your favorite Karate Kid movie, or just we can talk about Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, all that in the comments. I want to know, you know, who's your favorite Karate Kid? Is it Jaden Smith or is it Ralph Macchio? Most people would be Ralph Macchio, but I know a lot of people that like the Jaden Smith version too. So let me know all that down in the comments, and I will see you guys for the ranking of my Karate Kid movies. Peace, Colonels.